I bought a Dell Poweredge server, and mainly I want to use it for experimentation. My buddy Jason and I want to start building some things together. So my thought process was to just have a beast of a home server that could be, act like EC2 or something where, we can just spin up a VM, run some software on it, kill it if we need to, keep it there if we want to, but just have like a playground. So I'll start in the server room. I'm in the basement of my house, my dad's house, I should say. It's gonna be kind of loud in here because the heater's on and the server is loud as shit, but I'll show you anyway. Alright, so here's the server. It's Dell PowerEdge 2950. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. Over here on the left, it has two 15K hard drives. It came with those. They're loud as hell. They're pretty quick. I haven't really done any benchmarks, but I mean, obviously they're going to be quick. And then in here, you can't see. This is actually just a plug. There's no tray there, but there's actually an SSD in there that I just plugged directly into the board. Because one, it's an SSD, it's incredibly light, so it's just sitting in there on the bottom. Doesn't really need a tray, especially because this isn't going to move. But I'd like to get some trays, put some more drives in there, use this as a small backup solution too. But yesterday, my dad and I ran Cat 6 over the ceiling into this room. So now, it's got two ports. Can't really see, it's a little dark. But there we go. So it's got two gigabit Ethernet ports. It's only using one right now. So that goes up over through that sort of crawl space there and into this room, which is where like all the stuff for the house is. So this is like the well controller or whatever. A lot of this wasn't here when we moved in. Actually, most of it was here, minus the networking stuff, and it was all messy like this, which, as my buddy Jason pointed out, drives me nuts. Not really my style, but yeah. So what I did was a lot of the, they used Cat 5 for the phone system, so you could have a 4-line phone system. And what I realized was this Cat 5 was running all through the house and we weren't using it, especially because, not a lot of people use home phones these days. So what I did was I went to all the ports, like there's one over there, and I replaced the phone port, jack with a Keystone Cat 5 or Cat 6 jack. My dad had a bunch of them. I ordered some. So we just kind of like rewired whatever we wanted to, and so now all that connects to this patch panel here. These are not really ideal. They're like long cables. I'd like to have shorter ones, so I ordered some more of those. These I made, but I'm not the best cable maker, so it was like $10 to order a bunch of more. So I ordered a bunch of them. That'll clean this up a bit. But so right now the server is this here. So this goes up over. This is a gigabit switch. This is VoIP. It's not internet. The modem is actually in a different room of the house and comes down to here through a router. So there's a router and a modem in another room, and one of the ports comes down to this room and sort of feeds everything. So one thing that I'd like to do, for a couple of reasons, is take advantage of the dual Ethernet ports on the server, so that I can sort of use that as like the home gateway router. So the internet will go to that. That will run something like pfSense or monowall or some sort of thin router OS, and that'll serve as like the gateway for the house. So a couple reasons. One, it'd be nice to have all that equipment down here rather than in another room of the house, especially because it can be right up on this coax, which should help with some of the issues we've been having with like amplification problems and stuff. But anyway, 2, then I can put the server in sort of a DMZ situation where it's completely wide open to the outside world, and then the home network will be protected, obviously. But, you know, especially because my buddy Jason, he's in Hawaii, which is pretty far away from Virginia. So, you know, in order to make the experience for him good to like SSH in, it'd be nice to sort of get rid of all the stops and remove any chance of latency and stuff. Because there's nothing more obnoxious than SSHing into a box and typing a command and waiting even a half second for the keystroke to register. It's like really annoying. So, and then finally, this is my desk here. I have this Ethernet cable. It's kind of lame at the moment. I can't close this door all the way because the cable comes out. But it's nice having gigabit Ethernet directly to my Mac. So, benefit of the Thunderbolt display here is that it has an Ethernet port. MacBook Air doesn't, but so all that stuff kind of plugs into the display and acts almost like a docking station. So the MacBook Air only has power and this Thunderbolt connector. So yeah, everything's plugged in there. So anyway, this is going to be a quick explanation of how this whole VMware thing works for Jason. So this is a Windows 7 VM. Basically the server, if I had a monitor plugged into the server, I could show you that it's running VMware ESXi 5.5. Yeah, so there you go. It's the CD that I burned it onto. And so what that does is it's really thin, or it's supposed to be thin. It's just sort of like a management layer. So it just runs on the server. I think it's running Unix because it kind of feels like Unix. There's a console, you can run commands, partition drives, and things like that. But so it just runs all the time and lets you interface with it using various clients. So there's an iPad app, and I'm using an app called VMware vSphere Client on this Windows VM. Unfortunately, I got to use frickin' Windows to maintain this thing, but it's not so bad. They do have a web client for like their more enterprisey stuff that looks pretty cool, like a modern web app to manage all this, but I don't think I can run that. But anyway, let me show you how you manage this thing. So I'll start up the client. I gotta log in real quick. Alright. So it's connecting now to the machine. So the server has its own IP address. VMware has its own IP address. Good. Forgot my password or something. Let's try that again. If that doesn't work, then this is going to be the best demo ever. Alright, it's working. Alright, so now we're in. And so you've got this really classic Windows management interface. But so here's the summary of the overall VM. You've got, you know, the specs on the machine, some of the like resource utilization, you know, tools to go into a wizard. Yeah. It's got this little log area at the bottom, which is usually full of stuff. But so, and then I only have 2 VMs running right now, FreeBSD and Ubuntu 13.04 Raring Ringtail. And so this thing I actually gave a lot of resources. It's got, I think I gave it 4 cores and 4 gigs of RAM because I was going to try and do like Bitcoin mining, but CPU Bitcoin mining is apparently a lost cause. So anyway, and then this is the Ubuntu box. They're both not really doing anything whatsoever right now, but I am messing with the FreeBSD machine just for fun. So I like how it's hardly running anything. It's got tons of free memory. It's really sort of a lean, mean machine. Anyway, so I want to create VMs, which actually I do. I want to create a I don't know how to do this. Downloads. Where? I've got Windows Server here. I want to put that on there, and I also downloaded Debian as well. So let's copy this over here. Copy that in there. I don't really like this, that I'm copying an ISO to a VM and then via the VM copying that ISO again over the network to the server. It's kludgy, but whatever. I mean, not much you can do. So while that's copying, let me show you how to upload. Okay, of course I forgot how to do this. Storage, data store, browse data store. So this is actually an SSD. It's my SSD that's in there. I probably shouldn't be using this as a data store, but you know, I think the drive failed once a long time ago, so I'm not actually sure how reliable it is. So right now all it's really doing is running VMware. You know, not dealing with a lot of like reading and writing. So anyway, let's go into Linux. So I already have an Ubuntu ISO in here. Let me upload desktop. Debian net install. I'll upload that. And let's see how the copy is doing. If Windows is done. I think Windows is done. So I think that's fast. It's like 200 something megabytes. I guess it's not that quick. Could be faster, but that's I think that's over gigabit. So anyway, we've got that in there. Let's go back up. Make a new folder. Windows. So I got Windows Server 2012 because my sister kindly provided her email address for her school, so I could get into the DreamSpark program and download that. So now I have Windows Server 2012 R2, which, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. I'm an open source guy. Anyone who knows me knows that, but it is kind of fun to just see what's out there to play around with Microsoft's latest and greatest. So this is 4 gigabytes, I think. Yeah, 3.97 gigs. So I'm not sure if that's good, that transfer speed. I mean, I really don't know. I don't do a lot of data transfer stuff, so I'm not sure, like, throughput-wise, what's good, what's slow. I'm typically looking at a number like 2 megabits, which is usually my maximum download speed. So that's all I know. But anyway, so cool. We're uploading Windows to the data store. Meanwhile, let's go back to the client, and I'll create a Debian VM. So I'm going to stop this recording and start again. Maybe see if I can put this camera on something. Alright, so I got a little thing here to hold my camera phone. This is by far the most ridiculous way to record a screencast thing ever, but who cares? I'm doing this for fun. Alright, so I'm gonna create a new VM real fast. We'll do Debian first. Actually, what's the code name for that? Wheezy. Wheezy. Is that with an H? Yeah. Alright. So we'll put that on the data store, which Oh no, we want that on Seagate. So these are the twin 15K drives here. It's Linux, Debian. They don't have 7 in here, which is whatever. I don't think it matters. I'm not sure which adapter is best. I've done a little research on that, but I'm not exactly sure, so we'll see. Fortunately, the cool thing about VMs is you can always change this stuff. So, I mean, that's what I love the most about this is if this virtual adapter is not working, I can switch it. If that creates some major problems with the installation, I can just quickly reinstall it. So I'll give it, I don't know, 15 gigs is probably totally fine for a little VM. Cool. So we've got our Debian thing here. Let's finish that. So now I've got Debian Wheezy over here. And what I'll do real fast is edit. So it hasn't booted yet. It just creates it, and then I can configure it a little bit more. So one thing I'll do is give it a little bit more memory. A gig. Gig's fine. I'm probably not even going to do anything with this VM. That's the funny thing, is at this point all I do is create VMs. I'm not using them at all. So CPUs, let's give it, one CPU, 1 core. It's totally fine. CD drive. So this is where we can pick the ISO file. So go into the data store, Linux, Debian 7, and then connect it power on, which means as soon as I boot it, it'll have that available. Hard disks is the virtual disk. Floppy disk, who uses floppy disks anymore? Network adapter, that's already set up. So everything in here looks pretty good. Cool. So now I've created the VM, and you can see the little log is getting full of stuff now. Now I can boot it. So I'll boot that thing up, and it's booting now, which is cool. So now I can open the console, and so now I've got this. This is, it's pretty cool, right? So let's see. Let's do the install, graphical install. I'm not sure if I want this thing to run like more or less like a desktop, or if I want to run it like a server. Probably a server, because I have a Mac. So anyway, I will spare everyone the video here because I've installed Linux 50 million times, and I don't think anyone needs help installing it. It's pretty easy. Alright, so that's my stuff. I've got this really cool server now, which lets me spin up VMs, kill VMs. I mean, just the other night, I started learning about, I think it's called Primecoin. It's not Bitcoin, it's an alternative to Bitcoin that it just uses a different hashing algorithm, I think, and one that's more conducive to mining via the CPU, not the GPU. So I figured I have this server sitting in my basement that is making a lot of noise, sucking a lot of power, and not really doing anything yet. So might as well mine for some Prime coins. Anyway, what I did was I wanted to increase the CPU and RAM for my FreeBSD box. So sudo shutdown -h now shut down the machine. Once it was shut down, I went into the VMware utility and powered the machine off. Then did a little configuration change, increased the RAM, increased the CPU, booted it back up, and everything's good. So it's really nice to have that flexibility. It's really nice to not have to burn CDs or use DD to write like an ISO to a memory stick for installation. I can just copy the ISO to VMware, run the installer that way. So it's really handy. So far I'm enjoying it a lot. So I look forward to learning a lot more about networking and all that stuff, so I can make this shit show a little bit nicer. Alright, ciao.